Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the publisher, Charlie Eisenhood, and joining me for the third week in a row as guest host is Josh Mansfield. Josh, I got my second vaccine in my arm. I am a week and a couple days away from being fully vaccinated. So I'm excited, I want to go have a beer in a bar. It's been a long time since I've had a beer in a bar. So I'm looking forward to that.
Were you bedridden for a couple days, or did you feel okay?
It was just a little malaise.
Okay.
That was it. My arm hurt, but nothing major. I had a slow morning the day after my shot, but I did a full work day. So.
All right. Yeah, not bad at all then.
Yeah. Moving through it. Big show. We're going to get moving right into it here. We're going to take a look at what happened this past weekend at the Mid-America Open. We're also going to look ahead to the Dynamic Discs Open, which starts tomorrow. Wow. Wednesday to Saturday. Somewhat of a rare schedule these days in the disc golf world. So getting ready for this mega event, formerly the Glass Blown Open. We'll talk more about that later in the show. We're also going to be doing some stock picks on players. We buying, we selling, we holding our shares. We're going to do that in just a moment. But first, Mid-America Open this past weekend, Silver Series event on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. It was originally scheduled to be held at Harmony Bends, but as we did mention, this was happening when we were recording our show last week. The tournament ended up getting moved to Albert Oakland Park due to flooding at the Harmony Bends course. Kind of a bummer because, this course, Albert Oakland Park, it's a fine course, but Harmony Bends is like one of the premier courses in the country. As a result, a lot of players actually decided not to play the event. And so we had, a little bit of a thinned out field relative to what we typically see so far this season at Silver Series tournaments. So we're going to talk more about that in a second. Your winners this weekend in FPO, Heather Young gets the win by one stroke over Vanessa Van Dyken and Ellen Widboom. She came so close to winning a Silver Series event a couple of weeks ago. This time she comes away with the win. No Katrina, no Paige in the field, so that's at least something to consider, but very cool to see such a young player get a win. Young player on the MPO side as well, Kyle Klein wins it by 2 strokes over Emerson Keith and Chris Dickerson. 10 under final round, really played well. And so 2 up-and-coming names winning Silver Series events. It feels right. What did you think about this weekend's action?
I think on the MPO side especially, Kyle Klein, he's had some really good tournaments. He's played really well. He's gotten in the top 10 several times. We've talked about him in our Young Guys segment a couple of weeks ago. It was nice to see Kyle Klein. I mean, again, like we mentioned, Paul Macbeth, I think, was scheduled to be at this tournament. The change of course means that he dropped out. Same thing with Ricky. It felt like it created some space. And this tournament, I mean, I know after round 1, I think there were something like 27 players all within 2 strokes of the lead, or one to 2 strokes of the lead. Right. So it was real tight. It was tight the entire way. It's exciting to watch Kyle Klein come out and be able to take down a tournament that did still have some quality play. I mean, like you said, he beat out Chris Dickerson, which is a big name to beat. So
absolutely. I mean, and Chris Dickerson's been playing really well. Maybe not quite at the level that he was playing at last season, but has still been, top 10 finisher at pretty much every event that he's entered, and belongs in that conversation of those top 5 players. So a nice win for Kyle Klein. Similarly for Heather Young. Heather Young was the second highest rated player in the field, so I don't think we should be surprised to see Heather Young win this tournament. But at the same time, she hasn't won a tour event yet. And, you can say what you want about who was there and who wasn't there. She still beat a professional field and, comes out on top with, one of the hot rounds of the day at even, and holds off Vanessa Van Dyken and Ellen Widboom. So I think, this is such a meaningful moment for a player like Heather Young, regardless of whether she beat all of the top players in the world or something like that. I know it's a stepping stone, but that's kind of what the Silver Series is all about, right?
Absolutely. And I remember from USDGC last year, or I guess the women's championship, Nate Sexton on the commentary was talking about how Heather Young just felt comfortable on the course, that she came up and was talking to him, even though they didn't know each other super well, that she's just someone who seems to exude a confidence necessary to play at this professional level. I think what's noteworthy, though, is that winning is a skill. Going from second to first is a skill that you have to learn. It requires a type of game management that, regardless of who's in the field, you have to learn. And so I think that in the Silver Series, it's a good opportunity for someone like Heather Young to work on that, to work on developing those skills. And I think that's going to pay off well in some of the bigger events later down the year.
And you think about back to earlier this year at the Open at Belton, when she has this great back nine, gets 4 birdies, catches all the way up to Katrina Allen, but then ultimately gives away a chance to win that tournament on the 18th. You know, it may have been Katrina Allen, but the pressure was very similar at this tournament this past weekend. You know, she was right there with 2 other players and had to play high quality golf the whole way through. Here's an amazing stat for you. She was actually -1 in strokes gained tee to green relative to the average in the field. -1. But in the putting, she gained 12.5 strokes. That was almost 6 strokes higher than anyone else in the field. She shot 88% from C1X and 32% from Circle 2. Clinical, right? That's MPO numbers, folks. That's MPO elite numbers. 88 and 32. This is incredibly impressive stuff. And that to me tells me that the ceiling is so insanely high for Heather Young, because all she has to do is get to like serviceable distance, right? You don't have to be elite with putting numbers like that. Serviceable distance, and it's going to be game over. She's going to be a top 3 player at every tournament. It's amazing to see this already from such a young player.
Absolutely. And I think that on the MPO side, when we talked about Casey White, for example, he said and admitted very quickly that he doesn't have the longest arm, but he is something like 8th in Circle 1X putting on the tour right now. I think what's exciting about FPO is that, as you mentioned, I mean, these numbers are something that are blowing the rest of FPO out of the water. If Heather Young is going to continue to develop as a player in other aspects of her game, both mentally as well as in talent and skills, then I think that she's going to raise the bar for what other FPO players have to do. Because if they don't, if they continue to putt, like Paige's, I think at the last tournament Paige played at was something like, 8 or 12% Circle 2 putting. And if Katrina Allen has off Circle 1 putting weekends, they're going to get smoked with someone who putts like this. And so I think that's going to raise the bar. It's going to tell them that they're going, other people are going to have to start putting at these numbers if you want to be competitive on the FPO side. And I think that's exciting to see.
Very fun. Very fun. In MPO, Kyle Klein led the field in strokes gained from tee to green. Solid numbers on the putting green, not tournament leading by any measure, but still gained about 4 strokes on the field. But just interesting to see the discrepancy there, and a cool tournament overall. Not a ton of score separation on that course. I mean, I think that's the knock, right? And that's maybe no surprise, right? It's a backup course. But it goes to show you that it does matter. It matters what courses these players, take on. And you see the FPO scoring, right? It's so many pars. It's par. I mean, a great round is maybe 2 birdies. And I think that also shows you, right? Course design, we're still figuring it out. So many courses are designed with, a 950 rated male player in mind. And, so you have the situation where it's like, okay, well, we need to make sure this is ready for a 1050 rated MPO player, but we also need to be thinking about making courses that are appropriate for 940, 950, 960 rated FPO players. And, seeing very little score separation, holes where almost everybody takes a par in FPO, that's not good. And I'm not knocking the tournament organizers or anything like that. The fact that they were able to get the tournament off, I think, is a positive on its own. But it goes to show you, like, hey, you know what? There's a reason we select certain courses for the Elite Series.
Yeah. Question for you, but before we move on from this, I know at the beginning of the year, Paul, for example, said, I'm out here to just play as much golf as possible because I never know when the tournament's going to be shut down. Why do you think some of those top names withdrew when they found out there was the course change? I don't think that Ricky and Paul are at a huge disadvantage because they didn't get to practice. I mean, they're some of the best in the game. I think they still have a very clean chance of taking it. So why do you think it is that as soon as the course changes, some of those names backed out? Any reasons in your mind?
It takes the luster off the event. It's a silver series, number one, right? So
True.
From a points perspective, it's not as important. Number two, I don't think necessarily that the players are super excited about playing a backup course. Number three, I think the tight turn into DDO with limited practice days and time probably impacted the decision-making process. And, maybe the next one is like, if you're feeling some concern that there's going to be weather issues during the tournament, maybe you're like, forget it. Like, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with the rain. I don't want to deal with the tournament maybe getting canceled later. I'm just going to go get ready for this next NT. That's what I would anticipate. Maybe people's decisions are a little different here and there, but
Sure.
I just think people are much more interested in trying to win DDO, and probably the extra practice time is more appealing than playing the backup course for a silver series.
Sure. And I wonder too if, to what extent the flexibility thanks to contracts. If you are someone who is certain about, your ability to stay on tour, if you skip a weekend of tournaments, then maybe that's not as big of a concern for you. Whereas other players who, maybe Kyle Klein, that winnings probably went a long way for him on his tour effort. So I wonder if that plays a big role as well. But
I mean, credit to the Pro Tour and the tournament directors of the Mid-America Open, and they had over $16,000 of added cash at this event, which is more than you see on some Elite Series tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you're right. the money aspect is a thing, right? $4,000 in Kyle Klein's pocket probably means more to him than it does to any of the big names who are making, big fat salaries and selling many, many, thousands of discs and getting royalties on every one. So the tournament winnings actually matter to a lot of players, to be honest. But if you're specifically looking at why big names dropped, I think it's in part because they don't need an extra couple $1,000 and they'd rather focus on winning the big ones.
Yeah.
What we're going to talk about in our subscriber bonus segment today is what's up with the Silver Series? What's the purpose of the Silver Series? It's kind of refreshing, I think, to see a Kyle Klein and a Heather Young win a Silver Series event as opposed to Ricky and Katrina. So we're going to talk about that and what the future of the Silver Series might be, maybe what it should be in our subscriber bonus segment. So we hope you'll join us for that. discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe. It's less than $4 a month, and you can join our Discord, and you'll enjoy it. So we hope you check it out. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. You got to set your calendar. May 1st, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. That's coming up. That's this Saturday. They're reopening the custom programs. So you can go in there, make a custom Octothorpe, custom Carlton, whatever you're looking for. They're offering more bags than ever now in their custom programs, but they still go very quickly. So you got to get on there right at the time, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Make your bag, order your bag, and bam, you're set for life with a Pound Disc Golf bag. PoundDiscGolf.com. Check it out. Okay, now it's time to make some stock picks. We are going to take a look at 15 players from MPO, 15 players from FPO, and we're going to decide whether we're buying, holding, or selling their stock. Now, this is a subjective exercise. This is a sense, players are going to be graded relative to their expectations, aka their current stock price. So, sure, everybody wants to own Apple stock, but do you like it at its current levels? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. $2 trillion valuation. Do you want to buy the stock at that price? Not necessarily. So we're going to take a look at some players here and decide whether we're buying, holding, or selling, and why. So Josh, I'll let you kick it off. Pick a name off the list. Let's do this.
All right, let's start with James Conrad.
James Conrad. All right.
Yeah.
I am going to buy on James Conrad stock right now.
Okay.
I think his stock's a little down relative to his potential performance, and I think you want to take advantage of the fact that he's still learning his new discs, right? The fact is that he's probably going to play better moving forward. That's just my general expectation based on his past performance, based on the adjustment process it's going to take for him. He's still learning the new discs in my mind. So I expect him to regress towards his mean, which is higher than where he's at today. So I'm buying.
I agree. I think some courses are coming up that suit him well as well. Maybe not DDO per se, but once we get over into like California, I think he's going to really start to excel a little bit more. So I'd also probably buy James Conrad.
All right. How about Haley King?
I think I'm probably holding Haley King. I think Haley King did some good work at the Texas State Championship. I don't think she's going to regress anytime soon, but I don't see her pushing her way to making herself a clear top 3 contender with Paige and Katrina and Sarah in the near future. So I think I hold Haley King at where she's at.
I'm definitely not going to sell any of my Haley King stock. To me, this is like an accumulation moment. I guess the question is like, where are expectations for her right now? Did they go up substantially because of her win last year at the Pro Tour Championship? Maybe. Now she's got the regular season stroke play win at Texas State's.
Mm-hmm.
So, price is going up there. I'm holding two. I just don't know that I can justify adding more to the already amount of hype that I've had and the stock that I already own.
Yeah, same. Okay. Owen Scoggins.
I'm going to sell.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, let me tell you why. I think Owen Scoggins is a really nice player. I think that the fact that she's back out, kind of more on full-time tour is awesome. I just am not convinced that she's going to play better than she's playing right now. Somebody who's a little bit older, not necessarily going to be adding a ton of distance anytime soon. I think we've seen what she can do so far. I think this is a good opportunity maybe to cash out a little bit. Again, it doesn't mean that I don't think that she's going to continue to play well. I just think that she's maybe playing a little bit above where I would consider her baseline performance level to be.
Sure. I think I hold on Owen Scoggins, actually. I think that she's been playing, like you said, she's been playing well. I don't see any reason for her to regress, though, because as you said, she's not gaining any distance, but her game isn't built around that distance per se. She's an excellent putter. She leads the Pro Tour for the FPO side in putting, and so I don't see any reason why her game should regress. She's won and done, or she hasn't won, but she's done well at a variety of courses, to everything from Waco to LVC, 2nd and 4th respectively. So I don't see any reason why she should regress in the near future. So I think I'm holding on, and I've definitely been more on the Owen Scoggins hype train recently. So,
all right, how about Chris Dickerson?
All right, on Chris Dickerson, I think I'm going to sell.
Oh wow.
I think Chris Dickerson's had some good finishes. He's had one less than ideal finish with his 23rd at Vintage Open. I think, and maybe at the end of the year he picks back up again, like he did at USDGC, like he did at the Pro Tour Championship. But I feel like Chris always goes quiet mid-season, at least more so. And while he may stay near the top, I think there are too many excellent MPO players this year for him just to cruise along at a solid second place conversation, like the safe second pick he did last season. And so I think I'm going to sell. I don't think he stays up at the top level that he did last season and even at the beginning of this season.
All right. That's a spicy one. I think I'm going to hold my Chris Dickerson stock. He got a big run up. He wins the USDGC, but his ratings come down 4 points in the last update. I think that, I'm not ready to sell, but I also think that we haven't necessarily seen evidence so far this season that he's going to continue the ascent past those, unbelievable players in front of him right now.
Right.
Your Rickies, your Calvins, your Pauls, your Eagles. I think he's a solid number 5. And so I feel like he's going to stay there. So I'm going to hold my stock.
Okay. That's a fair pick. All right. I'm gonna pick. Let's do the guy who's standing on top right now, Ricky Wysocki. What are you doing with your Ricky stock? Because it's expensive right now.
It's really
your Ricky stock's really expensive.
It's really expensive. I'm gonna be honest though. For me, this is a hold.
Okay.
I think he's gonna get, if he wins Worlds, he's gonna get another price upgrade.
Yeah.
And I right now, that's who I have winning Worlds. That's who I had winning Worlds a month ago. That's probably who I'm going to have winning Worlds when we make picks for the tournament. Unless something dramatically changes. I just think he is the in-form player right now. We're seeing, vintage is a weird word to use for Ricky Wysocki, but this is peak Ricky, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Lyme disease is in the past. He looks healthy. He looks fresh. The forehand is as amazing as always. He's just all facets of the game are working right now. He looks really confident. I just feel like I don't want to sell my stock here, given that it could just keep going up.
That's why I'm buying more Ricky stock. I know it's going to cost a pretty penny, but I think, like you said, if he wins Worlds, Ricky just became our Apple. I think that he's going to do it. So I want more Ricky. I want a majority holder of Ricky stock right now. And I think that I could coast into retirement if I did. So I'm buying all the Ricky stock I can right now.
Oh, wow. Who's unloading it to you right now?
Right. I don't know. Not many.
Paul Macbeth is selling his shares. He's like, I'm coming for that world. Okay, let's go to Paige Pierce.
I've been thinking a lot about this one because we've been planning on doing this for a while. So I've been thinking a lot about what would I do with my Paige Pierce stock, and I'm going to sell it because wow. I think Paige is going to go down again before she comes back up. I think Paige will come back, but I am going to bank on Paige I think that when it comes to like OTB, for example, Masters Cup, I don't have her as just my favorite to win it. And so I think that before Paige comes up, I think she's going to go back down. And I know that sounds crazy, but I think that, we've been a little hard on Paige, and rightfully so relative to Paige's standards, but she still has first at LVC, 5th at Waco, 11th at Texas State, 2nd at Jonesboro. That's still a decent performance. I think that something's off. It's going to go down, and then I'll purchase it when it's low because then Paige will come roaring back.
I'm going to jump ahead and buy the dip right here because I think this is a great chance to load up on Paige stock. I mean, OTB Open, as you bring up,
mm-hmm.
word on the course is that it's brutally hard, brutally long. I think I have to look up the numbers. I was talking to Sean Jack, tournament director. They did a test event there. 4 over was 10-20 rated in MPO. 4 over. Okay.
Are women playing same tee pads?
No, I think they have different layout. But either way, it's going to be a tough course. We're not going to see 10 unders out there. It's not happening.
Okay.
So to me, this is like primo page option, right? It's a big open golf course type setting. Not that she's gonna win for sure or anything like that, but I think it sets up well for her skills. So I am gonna buy some page stock because I think this is this is the worst she's played in 2 years. This last stretch. It's still very good because she's still the best player in the world, but the price has come down to the point where I'm like, okay, this is a chance. And she's refueling or whatever in Hawaii. So maybe that's going to get the job done for her, get her mind right. It's risky. I get that. I can understand that being on the other side here. So I guess you're selling me your page stock and I'm buying it from you.
There we go. And I want some of that back later, but after you lose a lot of money from it.
Diamond hands, my friend. Okay, what's next?
Kona Panis.
Hold.
Okay.
I selling makes no sense here. But I think, the star has risen very fast, and I think the time to buy was after All Stars, not today. So I'm going to hold. I think that, I still want to see the putting show some real rhythm and consistency before I'm willing to kind of pile in some more shares.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kona Panis has been playing excellent, but I think that we're seeing top form Kona Panis, not one more gear waiting Kona Panis. So I think I hold. I think you get great returns from it, but I'm not sure I want to go all in on that
Ezra
one either.
Ader hold.
That's so hard to know. how much stock there's people holding in Ezra right now. I'm going to say hold, but I'm only going to say hold because I don't think his stock can get any lower. Right. I think that the time to sell was probably right after LVC.
100%.
If I, selling right after LVC would have made a lot of money. Selling now is like selling. I just kind of like your page example. I don't think Ezra can play worse than he has played. So I don't think it's going to cost me anything to hold it. And maybe he does have a flash of brilliance, but I'm going to be honest. If he does, I'm selling my stock the day after. Right now, I don't think that if he comes out at DDO and takes third, next day I'm calling my broker and saying I want to unload all my shares while it's hot. So
yeah, it's his last 5 performances at tournaments: 67th, 76th, 32nd, 20th, 44th, missed cash 3 of the 5 times. Whew. You can't sell now.
No.
We've seen enough from him to know that it could get better. And it probably will get better. I think I have to buy.
You're going to buy. Okay.
I think I have to buy a little bit. I might not, take a huge position here, but I just think we've seen from last year, what did he do last year? He had stretches like this where he was finishing in the 50s, and then, he was 13th at Jonesboro, and, he had some top 10 finishes here and there. I just think you're going to have some volatility with his performances, but I think that, you're buying at a low point right now. There's just no way that it's like you said it's not going to get lower from here. So
yeah, that's true. I guess if you want to become a day trader and Ezra Ader holds stock, that's a possibility, but I don't know if I want to invest that time and energy into that one. Nico LaCastro.
I'm a hold on Nico.
Okay.
I'm a hold on Nico. I think people overlook how good Nico is a little bit because of the antics and because he doesn't he wins tournaments. So you got to give him that. He's won a tournament, a elite series tournament each of the last 2 years. He's competitive at the majors. I just don't know if I see like a ton of additional upside here. But I also think that, you're going to just keep cashing in those dividends, right? Every time he sits there and looks at a putt for 60 seconds, you get 5 cents or whatever. So I think I'm just going to hold. I mean, I don't really see him like emerging to be a top 3 guy. He's a top 10 guy, and he was like very solidly number 7 last year in the world. And I think we'll see similar from him this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think I also hold. I don't think it's hot enough right now to sell. Maybe if he goes on a hot streak and does a couple top 3 finishes, podium finishes for a while, then maybe I'd consider it. But the one question I have though is, do I still get my 5 cents if he misses that circle 1 putt after looking at it for 60 seconds?
I have to look at the prospectus to let you know.
Okay, all right. Let me know, because that might affect my decision.
All right. How about Kevin Jones?
So, quick tangent. My brother-in-law and I are doing a little like fantasy league together, and I picked Kevin Jones on my team.
For like the start of the season, or like this week?
Start of season, yeah. So before season started, we drafted our team, and we go by stats, right? Like circle 1, we have head to head. Who's the better circle 1 putter at that tournament, right? And I've got Kevin on my team, and so far it feels like anytime I put him on my bench, he does top 5. Anytime I put him in, he places underneath like 50. So it's I've really got a love-hate relationship with Kevin right now. I think I'm probably gonna buy my Kevin Jones stock right now though. He's coming off of a 31st at Mid-America. But the big thing about Kevin is he's avoided the coverage a lot. I haven't seen him on hardly any coverage. At least on like the Jomez or the Pro Tour live coverage, right? Like the feature card. I don't know if how much we've seen Kevin on those. And so I think his stock is probably lower than what it maybe should be right now. And I think once Kevin has a couple of big tournaments, gets on some coverage again, the Kevin hype train will come back. And then it might be worthwhile to cash out if he's still going to be playing this volatile. But I think he's at a low right now, even though his play has kind of been just up down. So I'm buying Kevin stock.
I'm also buying. I think he's playing a little worse than he's capable of, maybe a lot worse than he's capable of, and we're seeing the flashes of excellence. Remember at this point last year, he finished 6th at DDO in 2020 and really played extremely well for much of the back end of the season. He had a couple of like high profile losses when he should have won, where he was leading and going into the final round and like missed a putt. Like I think he missed one on 18, right? At some point.
Yeah. I remember that. I forgot that was kind of the Kevin storyline last year.
But I mean, that's tough, but like a second place finish for Kevin Jones is going to be good for the stock price right now. So I'm buying. I think he's going to play better. And I like the sort of the second half of the tour for him more than I've liked the first half. It's not quite half, but so far this year.
Yeah, I agree. Rebecca Cox.
I need to take a look and see what Rebecca Cox is doing. My gut instinct right now is to smash by. Rebecca Cox has 4 top 10s this year. Worst finish is 20th at Jonesboro. Look, I think I'm gonna buy. I've always thought that Rebecca Cox could like take the leap and start finishing like very high. She's over 930 rated. She hasn't really been in the hunt for a lot of wins so far this season. She did get 3rd at Texas State's, only 4 shots off the lead. I mean, she was very much in the hunt for that tournament.
Right.
I think we can see her, improve from here. I think, like a consistent kind of top 5 performance is not out of the question for her. So I'm buying.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I when I was flipping through, adding some people to the list, I saw Rebecca's finishes and thought it looks like she's consistent. I think she can be consistently better. So I think I buy Rebecca Cox as well.
Katrina Allen.
I am going to buy Katrina Allen stock. Um, and that's because I think at Jonesboro, we saw a Katrina Allen that was exceptional. But I think that Katrina Allen felt like a Katrina Allen that might be here to stay. And not if you look at her finishes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inside the top 5, 6 inside top 5, and always inside top 10. 2 wins, open at Belton and Jonesboro. I think that Katrina Allen is going that watching her at Jonesboro made me want to jump on the Katrina Allen hype train even more than I already had. So,
yeah, I think I agree. I think I'm going to buy.
Okay.
I think it's hard to say, like, where's the stock price today? She's coming off the Jonesboro win, but I could really see her continuing to win a ton the rest of this season.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised at all if she won Player of the Year this year. She just has that look. Like, you saw it, particularly in that second round, but really throughout Jonesboro, that she was dialed.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just the upshots and off the tee. Like, her putting looked really good. She has it all working.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that confidence is a big part of her game too. This is going to give a ton of that. So I think it's a great time to actually load up a little bit. But I guess the question is, like, are you buying her? Is she the highest priced player right now? I think, she probably is seen as the favorite for Worlds. I don't know. Her or Paige. I think people are still going to have Paige above because of the rating, because of the reputation, which is totally fair.
Yes.
But I think this is a good time to recognize that, like, maybe we've seen an actual shift here.
I agree. And I think you're right. I think Katrina's stock price probably is the highest right now of any of the FPO players. I think it's going to keep going up though. So
there you go.
Thomas Gilbert.
Thomas Gilbert. Not so inspired by the way Thomas has been playing to start the season. Let's take a look at the stats for a second. 30th in Circle 1 in regulation, 36th in Circle 2 in regulation. Let's take a look at 2020. Doing some due diligence right now. 31st in Circle 1 in regulation, 29th in Circle 2 in regulation. I think this is who Thomas Gilbert is. I'm going to hold. I feel like there's more upside than downside from here. I think his game is impressive. I think he could he's one of those guys where you're like, you wouldn't be shocked if all of a sudden he started finishing top 10 at everything.
Right.
So I like the upside there, but I'm not sure I want to commit more to it. I was thinking maybe, did the bag change have an effect? But the numbers look really similar to last year. So I'm going to hold.
Okay.
I'm going to hold.
Okay. I'm actually going to buy some Thomas Gilbert stock. And I'm not like, draining the kids' college fund in order to do it. I don't have kids, but if I did, I'm not draining the college fund to get in on Thomas Gilbert. But I do buy a couple of his stock. And I think the difference is he's about 5-6% difference in Circle 1 putts. That's enough for this season. He's in 25th, and last season he finished 11th. I think that Thomas Gilbert's always, in my mind, been a pretty consistent Circle 1 putter. And if his Circle 1 putting isn't quite up to the same level it was last season, I think it might be a question of confidence. And I think that confidence has some room to grow, and with it, his play as well. So again, I don't think that I'm making it rich with some Thomas Gilbert stock, but I think it's a nice little bump when he starts playing a little bit better. So
all right, how about Calvin Heimberg?
I don't see. I'm not quite. I know one thing. I'm not buying more Calvin Heimberg stock. And I'm hesitant to say that I sell because I don't see any reason he's going to decline in the future. But I guess the reason I'm not buying, so I guess I'm holding. The reason I'm not buying though is I don't see like a waiting for another gear Calvin to just kick on and start torching Ricky. I just don't. I think Calvin is playing amazing right now. I think he's playing at the top of his ceiling right now, though. And I don't know what needs to change. I don't know if I might be completely wrong. And this is coming off of a USDGC that Calvin Heimberg in the rain, just like an absolute monster from the chase card, shot a wild number for everyone else. But I think that Calvin is at a ceiling right now, at a plateau. And so I'm not willing to buy more stock until I see what the next gear is that I think Ricky is showing us right now, but that Calvin is not.
I'm buying. I might even go all in. Might liquidate everything else. Here's the thing about Calvin, okay? You're taking a little bit of too short of a view, in my opinion. This is like buying Amazon 10 years ago.
Okay.
Right? Everyone was like, oh my gosh, Amazon, this company is so big. How is it going to get bigger? And then they were like, nope, we're going to keep getting way bigger. And I think, every time I watch Calvin Heimberg play, I can't get over it. He throws some shot where I'm like, how is that a shot that a human being can make on a disc golf course? And if you look 2 years ago, he was a good player with potential.
Mm-hmm.
And then last year, he won Player of the Year.
Yep.
And sure, do I think Ricky's playing a little better right now? Absolutely. How can you not? I think everybody would agree. But I'm thinking about 5, 10, 15 years from now.
Okay.
Who's better positioned to be the next number one for a long stretch of time? I mean, we're not out of the Paul Ricky era yet. This is like Federer and Nadal.
Mm-hmm.
But Calvin's your Djokovic, and we know what Djokovic has done, right? So in my mind, this is a great chance to keep adding to the position because I think that Calvin Heimberg is going to be that guy in the future. And you have to pick who you think that's going to be.
Sure.
Because if you think it's going to be Eagle, you got to go there. If you think it's going to be Calvin, you got to go there. I mean, diversify your portfolio. But anyway, that's why I'm buying more, even though I'm probably buying at all-time highs.
Okay.
Close to it.
I think you're right. I think that I think that Calvin is in a stretch right now where he's getting beat by a Ricky that looks like Ricky used to look. But my question, I guess, for you then, because if you're buying, is do you think that Calvin Heimberg has enough room to grow that he can consistently be at that top level that you say, that like the next number one, the Djokovic, that outweighs a ceiling of some of the young players that we're seeing that we've talked about, right? And that includes Eagle, but that also includes when I look at and we'll talk about this later, Kyle Klein. I see him as playing excellent right now and having a mile to grow. I don't say that about Calvin. I say Calvin's playing great, but I think that there is marginal room for growth. Do you think other players are going to catch him?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, don't forget. I mean, I don't off the top of my head know how old Calvin Heimberg is, but
you're right.
He's like 21.
He is young. I forget how young Calvin is sometimes.
You forget because of the level of performance, because you don't think of him as a young guy because he's winning,
right?
Because he's playing so well. You think of the young guys as the ones who aren't winning. But it's not even that long ago that he showed up onto the scene. Everybody was like, "Who's this kid from Florida?"
Yeah.
And he eagles hole 7 at Fox Run, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, somebody eagled 7 at Fox Run?" Like, excuse me. And so, I think he is a young guy, right? He is still getting better. I don't know. It's hard to project into 3 years from now, but I mean, I think he's the most promising young talent on tour right now. Him or Eagle for me.
Yeah, him or Eagle. He's 23, by the way. I just did a quick look. Yeah.
I mean, still with, room to run before his athletic peak.
Do you think that happens this season, or is this really just a 2-3 year down the line buy?
I am seeing this as a long-term play,
okay.
But, is it going to shock? I mean, he literally won Player of the Year last year.
Yeah.
I won't be surprised if he was able to do that again.
Okay.
Is anybody going to be surprised if he wins Worlds?
No. No, we won't.
But he's not my pick. But I do think long-term, yeah.
Okay.
All right. I think it's your pick.
Okay. I want to say let's do Sarah Hokum.
I'm going to sell Sarah Hokum.
Okay.
Sarah is a great player. She's coming off the win. I just think that like we're reaching the point where Sarah Hokum's not going to be winning tournaments that much anymore pretty soon. And maybe not right away, but like I just think that like some of the younger players are going to take that crown just because like they can throw further. They, have a more sort of well-rounded game. I mean, Sarah Hokum is like kind of a different era of disc golf when you could really rely heavily on, one element of your game.
Sure.
And that's not to knock Sarah Hokum. She would whoop me out on the course. That's for sure. And I have a lot of respect for like all of the winning that she's done over her career. But I just think like she's a veteran who's probably going to be heading towards the decline rather than the upslope.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to sell because I think it's a good time to cash out.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think something else that it has developed slower on the FPO side, but is quickly catching up is a strong forehand game. It used to be that Sarah Hokum had the overwhelmingly dominant forehand, and she still does, obviously. That's her style of game. But we are starting to see players like Kona Panis who also have an excellent forehand. And so I think that undermines Sarah Hokum's value.
The modern game is coming onto tour at age 17 with a fully formed 450 foot plus backhand and 400 foot plus forehand. And like, that's non-negotiable.
Right.
Right. Like the next generation of stars are going to have very competent throws on both sides. And like that wasn't the case for a long time. Even 5 years ago, that wasn't really the case. So I think that, like I said, I think Sarah represents like kind of like the previous generation of players. And it's a testament to how good she is and how good she's been. And people don't give her enough credit for the backhand. I mean, she doesn't opt for it, but it's the same way that there's a lot of players who don't opt to throw a backhand or throw a forehand.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They will if they have to. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I mean, I just think like it's a good time, like as a long-term trade to say she just won. I'm going to sell today.
Yeah, I buy it.
Okay. Let's see. How about we go to Heather Young?
I know Heather Young's coming off that win. I think she needs a little bit more time on tour before. I guess now after the Calvin discussion, I think for the long game, I buy Heather Young. I think Heather Young's putt is something that the rest of the game will fill in around, and she continues to have more experience on tour. And I think that I think Heather Young becomes someone that we regularly talk about in top 3, but I don't think it happens for a couple of years. So I'm buying Heather Young, but I recognize I might not be making big returns this year from that purchase.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna hold.
Okay.
And I get the bull case here for sure. There's no world in which I'm selling. I just think that I first of all, I think I can get a better price if I wait for her to finish, 15th or something at a couple tournaments in a row, which, is she playing DDO? I don't remember off the top of my head. She's probably not going to do that great at DDO. It's just a big distance, course, and it's just not to her strength. But so anyway, I think I can get a better price. I also kind of want to see, like, do we see that development of the distance side of things? I mean, it's easy to say, like, oh, it's going to come. But I think some people are just naturally able to throw it really far and others aren't.
Sure.
And is that going to be a limitation, right? Does that hold her back compared to a Haley King? I don't know. I mean, it's obviously like, maybe it's ridiculous to not just be buying because you've got a 16-year-old who's playing amazing disc golf and winning tournaments. But I already have some stock, so I think I'm just going to sit tight.
I think the dichotomy between Haley King and Heather Young right now is really interesting to watch.
Very interesting. For
the young FPO, for the future of FPO players. Did I pick Heather Young or did you?
I did.
You did. Okay. All right. Let's do the other question mark of someone who hasn't been playing up to his standards. We think probably Paul Macbeth.
Oh boy, it's a tough one, honestly.
It is.
It's a hold for me.
Okay.
It's a hold for me. I don't really have a lot to say about it either. Like, you're already paying for all of the past performance in the price. So like you're having to pay a really high amount. Like, you know, if you think he's going to win Worlds, you buy today and then you sell in 3 months or whatever. But like, do you really have a conviction that he's going to come back to the top and stay at the top for another 2 or 3 years? If you do, you buy. If you don't, then I think you just hold here. And I wouldn't argue with you if you sold. I would just put it that way. I wouldn't argue with you. It's a little off right now, and so yeah. I don't know. So anyway, I'm holding.
You're holding. I think I also hold, but I will say with the caveat, I don't have a lot of Macbeth stock right now to begin with. So yeah, I kind of have been slowly selling off stocks as the season went. And I probably hold on to a little bit because if Paul decides that he's tired of not winning every tournament and it goes really hot, I would hate to be left out of that. But I don't hold very much Paul stock. I don't really see a huge disadvantage to holding it. I don't think he plays worse this season. But if he keeps playing at the same level he has this season, I'd probably sell my stock before I go into next season. So.
Interesting. How about Eagle? Stay in this top player department.
I don't know. I really want to buy Eagle stock. But I think like Page, Eagle's gonna dip again before he goes up. And so I'm going to sell my stock with the intention of buying a lot of it later this season. Wow. I think there's a drop before it gets hot again. And maybe I'm wrong with DDO, like coming up at DDO and OTB. This might be the worst decision of my life. But Masters Cup, I don't think is. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna sell it. I think Eagle's gonna regress a bit, and then I'm gonna buy as much Eagle stock as I possibly can because I don't think Eagle stays down that long. So
you might get punished.
I really might.
It just goes straight up. I'm buying.
Okay.
I'm buying for the same reasons I'm buying Calvin Heimberg. This is a long-term play for me. I think that, you know, I don't necessarily want to try to project who's going to be the better player in 5 years. It really could go either way in my mind. We've seen there's a lot of reasons to think that Eagle is going to be the next clear cut number one. And, you know, the distance, the putt. I mean, he's number one on tour in Circle 2 putting right now.
Yeah.
What's his putt? 38% Circle 2 putting this season. I mean, think about that number. That's insane. That is insane. He's hitting NBA level 3-point percentage from, 35 feet and out.
Yeah.
That is just nuts.
It is. It's wild.
And he's a little off on the Circle 1X putting, which is going to come back to his usually very high standard. He's often almost the number one on tour. I think the issue right now has been just like a little off with the drives. I mean, we've just seen like certain tournaments where he just doesn't look that sharp, like especially when he has to hit a tight gap. The thing is, the ability is just insanely overwhelming, right? He's so talented.
Yeah.
He has arguably the best forehand on tour, the best backhand on tour, the best Circle 2 putter on tour. Like, what else do you need to be considered the number one guy? Well, you got to win. And he's won. Uh-huh. But, you want to see him win a Worlds. You want to see him dominate. You know, we want to see Las Vegas Eagle every week.
Right.
And so I can understand selling now, expecting a little bit more, roller coaster ride. But I'm going to just kind of like keep buying, right?
Okay.
I'm just going to keep the finance stuff going. I'm dollar cost averaging into Eagle McMahon stock because it's just like, you know what? I don't really care what the price is because I know it's going in the upward direction.
Okay. I have one question for you. I know we're trying to do these kind of quick, but I've got, you said what?
We'll go quick hitter after this. But
okay. But you said, what is it that stops him from being top player in the world? And I have a real question about Eagle. Is Eagle going to be one of those players, and we see him all the time in a bunch of different sports, who's going to have the injury bug? He's got the back pain that was causing him issues. Simon is a thrower that it's always the Crush Boys, right? They've always been compared to each other because of the way that they throw. Calvin's throwing style, his distance looks and feels sustainable. Is
Despite
Eagles.
the fact that he looks like he's breaking his ankle.
Right, but except for the ankle. Don't worry. Just don't worry about that socket thing whatever he's got for an ankle that none of other human has. Except for that ankle, Calvin's throwing looks sustainable. Do you think Eagles is? Or is he going to be Yes. You don't think 100%. He's an injury bug?
Well, I mean, it's weird because he takes the fitness stuff really seriously. But he's dealing with these issues. Here's the thing. The next frontier for me, and I would apply this to a number of players on tour. I want to see Eagle get into the weight room with, some real weights and spend an off season lifting and trying to put on 10 pounds.
Okay.
I think that it's impossible for me to know, but he looks a little skinny to me. And I think the wear and tear of playing disc golf is a real thing. And I do worry about that. He's been a little fragile, injury wise.
Yeah, he has.
And so I don't know. But the thing is, it's not like Simon, where Simon basically wore out his tendon because he was throwing, absolute max power, crazy 600-foot Anheisers. Eagle doesn't really do that. I mean, Eagle has a lot of power, but he's often able to disc down.
Okay.
It doesn't look to me like his throwing form is out of whack. I know his elbow lays out super crazy on his forehand.
I was about to say, have you seen those pictures, Charlie? Come on.
But that's what baseball pitchers look like.
Okay.
So here's what I would say. I want to see. I mean, he hasn't really had a lot of arm issues as far as I know. He's had other stuff, like he broke his hand, and then he had the back thing. Right. That seems like it was maybe fairly temporary. But I really do think the next frontier of disc golf training is, it doesn't need to be Bryson DeChambeau levels of I'm going to get monstrously jacked and try to just outdrive everybody.
Sure.
But I do think that the training that a lot of disc golfers are doing is very much focused on what I would consider sort of prehab rehab type activities, which is really important for shoulder and elbow health.
Yeah.
But doesn't necessarily help your body stand up to the kind of in and out, day in, day out rigors, right? People look at Ezra and they're like, oh my God, look at Ezra. And Ezra said it himself on the show, that's not necessarily going to make you throw further.
Sure.
But if you already have great form and you're already what I would consider to be a professional level athlete, you need to spend some time doing deadlifts, real ones, for a whole off-season chunk of training. And I know Eagle takes this stuff really seriously. I don't know what he's doing, but it looks to me like it would probably help him to have a little bit more kind of body armor almost. And I would love to see what that would do to his game.
That's a fair question. I think that's part of the reason I wait to hold, because if he's out, here and there every other month, he has to take 2 weekends off because he's even dealing with minor things, right? The NBA has it all the time where you have players who are out every other month for 2 weeks because of a calf strain.
I mean,
I'm
a 49ers fan. Jimmy freaking Garoppolo. I mean, when he plays, it's great, but he can't stay in there.
Yep. And I'm worried that that's going to limit Eagles' ceiling in the future. So
it's a really reasonable concern. It is. That there are a few players that miss as much time as Eagle has missed for injury reasons. But it does feel a little fluky to me. It doesn't feel like it's like a systemic thing necessarily. When he punched the ground, right? Like,
right. Sure.
That was stupid, but like that's not necessarily something that's going to happen, day in, day out or anything.
For sure. It also feels like Eagle plays less events than a lot of other players. And I don't know if that's injury wise or, I think that's something that I'm interested to keep an eye on though. So,
all right, we're going to get it rolling with fast through these last ones.
Okay, let's hit them.
So here we go. Missy Gannon.
Hold.
I'm going to sell. I think we've seen peak Missy Gannon already.
Okay.
Last season.
Lisa Fakis.
I'm going to hold.
Okay. I sell.
Okay. Any reason?
I think she's part of the old guard that I think, she's played well. She's still playing well. Her stock is decent right now. She's got a couple top 5 finishes. I'm cashing out because, I don't think the future of MPO is Lisa Fakis. Nothing against her. I think she's a great player. Really respect her, but I'm going to get out while the iron's hot.
Casey White.
Buy. Yep, buying lots of it.
I'm gonna sell.
You're gonna sell.
I'm gonna sell. I gotta sell.
Okay.
I gotta sell. I think we're gonna hit some big distance courses coming up here. I also think we've seen Casey White like playing way above the rating for a while. Could it sustain? Yes, I could end up with egg on my face on this one, but I really think that it's a good time to cash out here and buy back in here.
Interesting. Okay, I think Casey White has been nothing but up for the past 2 years. I don't see any reason why that should stop. Even he's been playing above his rating for 2 years. That's not going to change.
It's a good point. I can't argue with that.
Yeah, so I'm buying more Casey White. Kyle Klein.
Buy.
Okay.
Lot of promising stuff coming out of Kyle Klein for the last 2 years. As an AM champion, was one of the most promising, new faces on tour last year. We're trying to do this quick. I'm buying.
Okay. I hold until he has another off weekend, and then I buy more Kyle Klein. I'm not buying him right off of a Silver Series win, but I agree for the same reasons.
Okay. How about Valerie Montano?
I'm going to hold. I want to see a little bit more of Valerie on the tour. But I think she's got potential, so she's playing well.
What about for her sister Alexis?
I buy Alexis. I think I think Valerie had the higher expectations coming in. I think her stock price is a little bit higher right now. I think Alexis is showing us that she deserves just as much attention, but I don't know if she's gotten it before. I think I believe Alexis' stock price is probably lower than Valerie's right now, but maybe I haven't looked and compared their results, but that's just based on my general feeling of, the publicity. So I buy Alexis, hold Valerie.
I'm actually completely in agreement with you on this one.
Cool.
100% agree.
Anthony Barella.
Oh my gosh. I know we're trying to go fast. He's so tough. I'm going to buy only because I just think it's like buying GameStop stock. Like when it was $3, you're like, all right, well, I can buy some GameStop stock. Right. And like Barella could go to $500 a share. Like you see it from him from time to time. He has an amazing round. He looks unbeatable out there. I mean, to me, it's all between the ears for him. If he gets that sorted out, then he can be a top 10 player in every week. I mean, really, he could. So I'm buying.
I agree. He hasn't finished inside of the top 30 yet this season. That's not Anthony Barella. I'm buying while it's low.
Ellen Widboom.
Sell. I think Ellen played well this weekend. I think Ellen's been playing well, but I don't see her as well as... I mean, maybe she does hold at the same rate. I don't see her playing any better than she does now. So I'm going to sell while she's playing well this right now because I don't think it goes up from here.
Yeah, she's coming off the second place finish this weekend. I think I'm just holding on Ellen Widboom.
Okay.
I don't think there's necessarily too much hype, about the second place of the Silver Series. Stock
Sure.
price kind of stayed stable. So I'm holding.
Okay. Jessica Weiss.
I would have liked to buy some Jessica Weiss stock at the beginning of the season before she had a ton of top 10 finishes in a row. I'm going to buy a little bit of Jessica Weiss stock, I think.
Okay.
You look at this, the behind the scenes numbers, and it's really good.
Yeah.
6th in Circle 1 and Circle 2 in regulation. And like the putt is the question mark. But if the putt can come around, then she could be, I think she's capable of winning Elite Series events regularly. Sure. Maybe this is more of what we've seen in the past from Jessica Weiss, so that would be an argument to not buy, but I don't know. I think I buy a little bit.
Okay, I hold. I think she's playing well. I don't see any reason why she doesn't, but I don't know. Like you said, I don't see a reason why she does start winning them. So,
Drew Gibson.
I buy Drew Gibson. I think I really like Drew. I think he chooses his events very particularly, and only 2 top 10 events or top 10 finishes, and one's tied for 10th. I think he's going to be in the top 10 more than that this season. So I'm going to buy Drew Gibson while I think he's a little bit underpriced, though not much. Yeah.
I agree, actually. I think he's had kind of like a muted start to the year, but relative to his skill set, I think he can go up from here.
Yeah.
He's 6th on tour in birdie percentage.
Yeah. He's a top 10 player, and he's not playing like it right now. So
Exactly.
Garrett Gerthy.
I think I'm going to sell my Double G stock right now.
Yep.
I just think like he's had a really nice start to the year, but like, when's it going to get better than this? Especially as we head into the second half of the year and we're more in the woods and stuff. I don't know. He did just come off a 30th and a 15th, so like maybe the price is right, but I just think we know who Garrett is. And until he can fix his 62nd on tour Circle 1X putting, it's just, he is what he is. He's a top distance guy in the game, which is going to keep him consistently in the top 10 off the tee and getting to the green. But the putting is just weak, and it always has been. And I don't see any reason to think that's going to turn around.
Yep.
So I think I'm just going to sell while I can here.
Every season, buy Garrett Gerthy right before, sell him at DDO as soon as DDO's over, and then I completely agree. All the same reasons.
Okay. Jen Allen.
I think I hold. I think she's been playing well enough that I don't. No, she hasn't. No, Jennifer Allen hasn't been playing great. I was looking at someone else. She's only got one. She played in LVC. She hasn't played in a while. She's registered for a couple events coming up. Sorry, I was looking at someone else. I buy Jennifer Allen then. She's got 18th at LVC and hasn't played since. But she's registered for a couple events upcoming. I think she can play better than 18th. So,
I mean, you're really just counting on her to improve from her recent. If you look at LVC, right?
Yeah,
unbelievable off the tee. 3rd in the tournament and C1 and C2 in regulation. 4th in parked percentage. 45th in putting. 24% and C1X.
Yeah.
If you think you can do better than that, I think it makes sense to buy a little bit here.
Yeah.
Legend of the game, but coming off this, kind of out of the spotlight. Didn't play that well at LVC. I think it's a great time to buy.
Yep. Raven Newsom.
Buy. Still not a name that people are talking about, but is clearly one of the more promising players on tour right now.
I am going to hold. I think Raven Newsom. We've talked about a lot of young guys lately. That's been a big focus. I think Raven Newsom is playing. I think Raven Newsom is going to keep playing at the level he's at, maybe a little bit better. I don't think Raven Newsom has the ceiling that some of the other guys do. So I think I'm happy with my Raven Newsom stock. I'm happy with the diversification in my portfolio, but I don't buy him like I'm buying Casey White or Kyle Klein.
Holly Finley.
Probably hold. Think she's doing well. But she's kind of up down. I think she probably will keep doing it. I just hold my Holly Finley stock.
I'm buying because I think that she's got the media thing. She's been really good on DGN. I'm impressed with her work. And this is totally irrelevant to the buy, hold, sell conversation that we're talking about, but that's good enough for me.
All right. That's, you know what? It's a different reason to buy, but okay. Last one, Cynthia Ricciardi.
Oh, interesting. Last one here. Okay. Let's see. Went down to 908 in the last rating update, but has been like right around the top 10 the last few events. I feel like the fact that she's on this list right now and that we're talking about whether or not we should be buy, hold, or sell is probably a sign that I should sell here. 908, like, is, she hasn't been past the 910 rating mark. And that's not true. In July 2020, she was 912 rated. But other than that, it's been kind of flat from there. And I just think like that catches up to you eventually. I think this is, she's played well enough to get kind of noticed the last few weeks, but I think I'm going to have to sell.
It's interesting because I put her on the list for a different reason. I'm buying my Cynthia Ricciardi stock. I saw her social media post beginning of the season. She was in high school last season while she was playing.
Oh my gosh.
Like still finishing up doing online school, is my understanding. So you're right. She hasn't been very high, but she is one of the youngest players to have, be really kind of like the face on the FPO side of dynamic discs right now. And I think that she's gonna go up as she spends more time on tour. So
it's hard to argue with buying a player when they're like 18,
right?
Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah. Okay, great. There we go. That's going to do it for our buy, hold, sell segment. Tell us what we got right, what we got wrong. Upshot@ultiworld.com. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're talking Dynamic Discs Open, DDO, formerly GBO, right here on the Upshot. Upgrade your disc buying experience at discgolfamerica.com. $395 flat rate shipping, free shipping over $39 to the lower 48. And look, they've got everything you're looking for in a modern buying experience. Right? They got a rewards program. You get to see a picture of every disc with the weight. Every disc comes in its own bag, so it's not going to get scratched up or dented or anything during transit. And they ship it same day or next day. So you're looking at disc on your doorstep in just a day or two. So check it out, discgolfamerica.com. Make sure you use code UPSHOT to save an extra 10% off. Welcome back to the Upshot. Dynamic Discs Open coming up this weekend in Emporia, Kansas. Formerly the Glassblown Open. It's back on the national tour this year. Recall that last year the GBO got canceled, and then the tournament was kind of semi-revived, called the Dynamic Discs Open, was put on the Pro Tour, and it was when we had the CBS Sports Network coverage, kind of disc golf's first foray into cable television. So that was kind of like the big welcome back event for the tour after the 3-month COVID hiatus. And so now we're back in Emporia for this event this year. And a lot to get to. We got to get our picks in, of course. Again, it's the second stop on the national tour. Before we get to our picks, though, I just wanted to kind of bring up something that I've been thinking about. What's the status of this tournament right now? For a long time, the Glassblown Open was kind of the premier event in the United States, maybe in the world, arguably. I mean, it was a destination tournament for people to come and spend a week in Emporia at this, this tiny town. It really is a tiny town. And, it is the center of attention. When I covered Worlds in Emporia with Steve Hill back, 5 or 6 years ago, whenever it was last there, we were co-authoring newspaper articles that were going on the front page of the Emporia Gazette or whatever their paper is called, because they were like, hey, we want coverage of this. So they just outsourced it to us. So like, it's a big deal in Emporia. All right. So where are we today in 2021, especially like coming out of the pandemic with this event? Does it feel like it has that same level of hype?
I think the hype is different, but I think it still does. So a couple of things that I would point to about that. The first of which is, there is going to be clinics like disc golf dyers, so you can dye your own discs, and workshops that I know are going to be featured at this tournament. That I think is something that shows more to disc golf than just the actual competition. Because even the block parties or the meeting with the pros and watching the disc golf itself, it's always been about kind of the surrounding events as well that have made it big. And I think this is kind of branching and showing another side of disc golf. Another thing, though, I know that you and Jamie talked about this in the past, but I play Disc Golf Valley a little bit, and they are running a 4-round Dynamic Discs Open virtual tournament on a course that they designed based on the Emporia course. And so, I think that hype looks different this year, but I think that the fact that we have a virtual Dynamic Discs Open, that you can go and look up UDisc scores right now for the first 2 rounds of this Dynamic Discs Open on Disc Golf Valley, means that this tournament is alive and well in terms of the place that it holds, I guess, in disc golf culture.
I'll tell you what. People talk about DD. They talk about Trilogy. Where's their sponsored players? Oh, why aren't they sponsoring play? They think about marketing from a different angle. And you know what? I think it works. Like this Disc Golf Valley thing. I mean, this is brilliant. How many people have this game on their phone and are now not only playing in this virtual tournament, but like seeing the name Dynamic Discs Open plastered in front of them over and over and over, throwing the discs of Trilogy in the game. I mean, we've talked about this before, but it's just brilliant. It's just brilliant to me. Like Dynamic Disc does so much to market to new players, and kind of like even more recreational level players. It's smart. I feel like they do more online advertising than I see from any of the other manufacturers. If you Google stuff, like they pay for Google ads. You don't see that from Innova and Discraft, really. So I think it's very interesting to see them kind of, they zag when others zig. Let me bring this back around. Certainly the event, what Dynamic Discs Open has been, and I honest to God, I hate calling it that. I hate calling it that. I think the name change is a major negative. I don't know if I'm ever going to get over that. I like the name. GBO rolls off the tongue. Glass Blown Open is kind of a cool sounding name. I get the business side of wanting to call it Dynamic Discs Open, but man, it's like going to, I don't even know the Smoothie King Center, right? That's where the Pelicans play. I mean, it's awful. I feel similarly about Dynamic Discs Open. It's just, I hope they change it back, honestly, but they're not gonna.
Before you go too far into that, though, as a Giants fan, you are blessed with Oracle Stadium. Yeah, that sounds cool, but it's convenient that a company that's called Oracle is the one that bought it.
It's true, right? I'm horribly hypocritical. For a while, it was AT&T Park.
Right. And I mean, I'm a Denver Broncos fan, and they just went from Mile High Stadium like 2 years ago, and they're now Empower Field at Mile High. No. Yeah, they were one of like the last 2 football teams in the NFL that had like names of stadiums, and they've moved to corporate sponsorship names.
It's hard to turn down millions of dollars.
Right.
Get it?
Does it suck?
Mile High Stadium was truly, that might have been the best name in all of like sports stadiums, period.
It was excellent. But I guess my point is, this year it's the Dynamic Discs Open, and in 5 years, hopefully it's the Nike Open or the,
That's a very good point.
Right. So
good point.
I agree.
This is a harbinger of things to come.
Right. I miss calling it the glass blown open. But it's. I think that when you give title sponsors that kind of publicity, if you're like, we have a game that we will literally like that has tens of thousands of players that your sponsorship is going to have now as a virtual event at the same time. I think when you call Bushnell and say, hey, do you want the Bushnell Open next year? I think there's a lot higher chance that they say yes. So I get your regret, Charlie. I miss Mile High Stadium so much, but I think at least in disc golf, who needs the corporate sponsorships, I think it's a good thing.
I mean, you're right. This is the cost of progress. You're right. I mean, I can't disagree with you. That's totally true. The Albuquerque, University of New Mexico basketball arena is called the Pit. And you walk in at ground level and you go down to your seats. And it's known to be one of the best places, like the best arena atmospheres in college basketball.
I believe it.
Have not been a good team for a while, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I love the name. That's just an aside.
It's a great name. It's a great name.
Back to DDO. Interesting though, this year, like they didn't fill the A tier. They didn't run out of spots. I think that's probably more has to do with COVID than, like a lack of interest in the tournament. This is a tournament that a lot of people typically have traveled to, almost pilgrimage to. And, Emporia is out in the middle of nowhere. It really is. So when you have thousands of spots at the tournament and you're talking about trying to pull from the West where there's not a lot of population density, period, I think maybe that has something to do with it. But it does feel to me like at least there's like a little bit less of the buzz that this tournament typically has. I don't know if that's because it like kind of missed the year or if it's because of COVID or what, but I'll be interested to see if it feels like that buzz is back after this weekend. They're also doing a Wednesday to Saturday, which I don't care for at this point in modern disc golf. Like,
yeah,
I think tournament should be either Thursday to Sunday or Friday to Sunday, pretty much. But I guess, if you like to watch disc golf while you're working, it's a big plus.
Something else about the Dynamic Discs Open is, beginning of the season, I get bored by LVC. I don't love it. I don't watch it particularly closely. I'll usually watch the Jomez coverage, but I won't spend 4 hours a day live coverage the entire tournament very often. As much as Dynamic Disc Open feels like a past iteration of what courses are, the big open fields with just tons of OB that they've drawn themselves. I don't think that that's going to be the norm moving forward for new courses that get added to the tour. I still think that I still enjoy watching it. I think that the signature hole on 16, the Island Green. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to watch it live to watch people miss that hole because it's just so exciting. And so I think that even though DDO is, it's older, it's different than what a lot of new events are looking like, I think it still holds an important place in our sport. And I think that's noted for the fact that the CBS coverage went there and not, Maple Hill, for example. And of course, logistics.
Keep in mind that DD was like, hey, we want to do this and paid a lot of money to make it happen.
Yeah, and that's true. And back to the corporate sponsorship point, but I think that's something that can be said that, maybe someone who, and I know we talked like the CBS ratings weren't great, but if you see hole 16 as being a signature disc golf hole and people come to associate disc golf with hole 16 of Emporia, then I think that that's something that already is holding a place in our culture that's important.
It's rare to have that true island type hole in disc golf. I mean, honestly, it's hard for me to come up with other versions of it, that have water surrounding. It's very rare. Mm-hmm. And I don't care, sure, 17 on USDGC, it's got water behind. It's not the same.
No.
And I know that hole's really important. And I know that hole's, has a lot of lore behind it because of all the tournaments that have been won and lost on it, but it's not the same as having you step up to the tee and there's nothing but water in front of you until you get to the green.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's just great. I think
Yep.
it's great drama. I'll never forget, literally, my whole life. I will always remember watching Valerie Jenkins Doss park it in the final round of Worlds, or maybe the final 9, back when that was still happening, to seal her world championship that nobody had her pegged to win.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, she's just going to lay up and, take the pitch up and take the par. And she's like, no, I'm going straight for it. And she parked it and birdied it. And it was just awesome. It was an awesome moment because there's people lined on the fairways and just this beautiful shot, and it's not necessarily that difficult of a shot. Like if you put the same shot on land, people would park the hole, but the speed control is important. There's a lot of things about it that just make it very appealing, and like the beauty of the lake and having water all around it's awesome.
It is, and I think, I love it. I love that hole, and so I wish I didn't love the Dynamic Discs Open as much as I do, because I prefer the Woods Golf. I prefer the Jonesboro kind of course, but I'll watch it. So
there you go. All right, well, it's time to make our picks. I'm going to rattle mine off pretty quick today. We've had a long show. I'm not going off on too much of a limb this week. I'm going to be honest. I think that this, 4-round tournament, tough courses, very much pro level courses. Cream rises to the top. There's not a lot of flukiness out there, and that's what you've seen in the past as well in terms of results. So in FPO, I've got number 5, Sarah Hokum, number 4, Missy Gannon, number 3, Jessica Weiss, I think I just bought some of her stock, so I'm pumped for that. Number 2, Haley King, and number 1, Katrina Allen. Reminder, Paige Pierce is not playing in this event. She is currently in Hawaii on essentially a little vacation. And, make of it what you will, skipping the Dynamic Discs Open. She was going to skip it last year, too, until the CBS Sports Network coverage. So,
yep. My FPO picks: 5th, Haley King; 4th, Sarah Hokum; 3rd, Missy Gannon, who had kind of a breakout after the restart last year here.
That's right.
Second pick.
Great.
Yep. Second pick. This is really my only hot take, I guess, in this. Owen Scoggins in second. I think she's playing great. It's windy here, and if she can putt well, I think she's going to separate herself from the field in a big way. But I'm not betting against Katrina Allen winning it, so keep her at the top.
How about your MPO?
MPO, 5th, I've got Paul Macbeth. It's low. Yeah, it's low for Paul at DDO. I put him in 4th at Jonesboro, and that wasn't low enough, though. So he took 5th at Jonesboro. That putt is not working right now. And I just don't think that I think that 1, he's not the farthest distance thrower to make up for the bad putt. And 2, I think the putt not working right now, it's just not, I'm not going to put him above 5th. Eagle in 4th. Drew Gibson in 3rd. I think he's been underperforming, and I'm picking this as his breakout tournament to get back in the top 10. Calvin in 2nd. Great at this tournament, playing great. Ricky Wysocki in 1st.
All right, rolling on the Ricky train.
Yep.
In 5th, I've got Eagle McMahon. 4th, I have Kevin Jones. 3rd, I have Paul Macbeth. 2nd, Ricky Wysocki. 1st, Calvin Heimberg. So, look, I've got the big names up there in my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got Kevin Jones, who I think, is kind of been sink or swim. We talked about, like he might have a great tournament, or he might finish 30th.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is a tournament sets up well for him. He played well here last year. Remember that Calvin almost won this last year, almost caught Macbeth in the final round when he shot a 55, which was 1083 rated. Not quite enough. But I think that Calvin's got a real good chance to win it this year.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how Ricky can do. He was 9 shots off the win last year. So, but he was also not nearly in the kind of form that he's playing in right today. So
I think that was Ricky's younger brother playing. That we've got Ricky now playing.
All right. So those are our picks. They're in the can. And looking forward to the tournament. Again, it starts tomorrow. We got all the coverage from, they have a ton of coverage. I think there's 2 FPO cards, 2 MPO cards, live coverage on DGN, the whole shebang. So
yeah,
enjoy it. And we're looking forward to joining you to talk about all of it here next week. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to join us for our subscriber bonus segment where we talk about the Silver Series and the future of those tournaments. Josh Mansfield and Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you next week right here on The Upshot.